You were lucky it wasn't her heart. The heart is not so easily changed, but the head can be persuaded.
So we've seen how to read in data, how to do some statistical t-tests with it. Let's talk about how to make plots with the data. And I'm going to show you how to use these commands when you're doing the plots. Let's go back to the bananas data that we were looking at before, and I changed the names of the columns to be count and phosphorus, as you can see here, because I didn't like the default when I had to skip lines. First, let's do a histogram of the bananas, specifically their count. And here's what my histogram looks like. If I size this out, I can make my picture a little bit bigger. Okay, maybe I don't like how it says bananas $count there. I can change it. You're not required to change these plots to make them look nice for this class, but sometimes you just like to. So here we go with count. There. I can also change the overall title for the whole thing by using the main command. And you'd better believe there's a lot of different things you could do here. You can specify color and so on and so forth. For now, we're just going to keep it simple. But be aware that if you can imagine it, there's a way to do it in R. And it can be fun to play with it. Now I'm just showing off. And I want to show off even more, but I'm running out of room here. So if I find where there's a comma, I can split it. Splitting it just makes it so that you can see it. It doesn't actually matter to the program. Wow. Okay, but we're doing overkill. What do you really need to know? Just how to do a histogram of one sample. That's how we look at a picture of one numerical variable. Let's talk about two numerical variables. Let's say I want to look at the picture of count based off of the other variable, which was phosphorus, and our data set is the bananas data set. Now I can look, ooh, wow, I forgot about this data set. So it looks like super low phosphorus or super high phosphorus, both are bad, and there's a sweet spot in the middle. Great. Here's the way that we see a two-dimensional, two numerical variable picture. I have count on the y-axis, phosphorus on the x-axis, and then I specify the data set. Right now, my data set on the x-axis goes from 0 up to a little bit past 200, but I can alter that by specifying that I want the x limit to be, and I'm going to combine the numbers 0 to 500. And now that changes the x-axis. Ooh, 500 seems like a lot. Maybe we'll make this 300. I can do the same thing with the y-axis, and I can make the y limits go from, how about -100 up to 3000. Why is this useful? Because sometimes you'll be plotting two different data sets and you want to specify, well, this one's over here and that one's over there. And so this will get more useful as we start looking at lots of plots together. And of course, we can use the same label commands to make our picture look pretty, which isn't really required, but I know that some students, it kind of bugs them to not be able to fix that up. As I mentioned before, there are still lots of things that you can do in R to change the picture. For example, going back to the original simple picture, I can specify the point character. 19 is a good one, gives you nice solid dots. You could also color the dots, which this is actually one that's going to be useful later. I'm going to color them red because all the good superheroes are red. And there we go. One last note, if I come back to my very simple basic plot that I started with here, you can do the same thing by specifying bananas dataset, count based off the bananas dataset phosphorus. That's not the way I typically do it, just because it's kind of a little bit longer to rewrite the dataset name multiple times. But there it is, that's a notation that we might see again later. These are the two main ways that we will be drawing pictures, either with a histogram if we're talking about one variable, or a plot command if we're talking about two.